Hey guys, this is Nate. We're gonna do something cool. We're gonna do something different. We're gonna do a reaction video to Jubilee. Do all millionaires think the same? I really don't know what to expect. My video guy, Austin, set me up with this. Says it's gonna be a cool video, so we're gonna try something new. Let's take a look. See what we got.
He's a multi-millionaire. Please welcome Tim Sykes.
The key to my success is just working hard, like 18 to 20-hour days every day of my life, and having no life, but having a lot of money.
I think it's consistency.
So I want to reply real quick. So he said, I have no life, but I have a lot of money. And that's one of those things where you have to balance it out, right? If you have a family and kids, and I had battled this early in my entrepreneurship, I guess you could say, you gotta figure out what the balance is that you want. Every person's different. Yeah, that's a really good point. I personally choose a life. I have family, I have children and a wife. And so I kind of prioritize that over money. And a lot of times I go home early. I'm home by 5, 6 o'clock every day. And sometimes earlier, sometimes later, but give or take. And so because I don't want to miss out on my kids' lives growing up and being home from my family, because money just gets you to a certain point, and after that it's kind of like you get freedom and flexibility, and that's what money should be used for. But after a certain point, there's only so much freedom and flexibility you can really have until you damage the other section of your life. So, but anyways, let's keep going.
Waking up every day, doing things that I need to do, not just because I want to do them, but because I have to do them.
3 years ago, I was serving Captain and Coke as a server. I feel like a lot of people think that this happens overnight when it's really been a lot of work.
I started a fat freezing business. It just grew from doing it for friends and family, and it grew into like a crazy thing.
What's up, you guys? It's Graham here. I think it's so important that you live below your means and live frugally and really focus on what's most important to you.
I think millionaires get a bad rep.
I've seen his videos.
Try really hard to serve other people.
Only person I recognize is Graham Stephan so far.
3, 2, 1, go. Growing up, I didn't have anyone in my family that was in real estate. I didn't have anyone in my family that had millions of dollars. And so for me, I do remember being like 15, 16 years old, having 20 bucks and working part-time after school and like saving away all that money. And then I used that money to get my real estate license.
He had 20 bucks at 15, 16. I wish I had 20 bucks at 15, 16. Oh man, I'm just kidding. I had a couple dollars here and there.
Barely graduated high school. I never went to college.
I didn't graduate high school.
2 divorced parents, so I should not have become wealthy statistically. But I believe that I put in the work and I really wanted something and I was really determined and I really enjoyed what I do, and that accumulated to where I am today.
I literally started from the bottom. I'm not saying that I was ever homeless or anything, but I did grow up in a single family household. We ended up sharing like a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people living in 1 bed. Living through those struggles really did put into perspective that I just wanted more out of life. So I went out there and I did whatever it took to build my wealth. And even though all odds were stacked against me, like I failed out of business administration, my counselor told me I would never make it in business, but I took that and it lit a fire under me to prove her wrong almost.
I feel like personally self-made has to be somebody that was growing up broke, in my opinion. Like you got it from the bottom, and I didn't get it from the bottom.
I disagree with that. I don't think you need to come straight from the bottom. Like I started with a few $1,000s. I know a lot of people who started their whole businesses with a few $1,000s.
A few thousand is more than what I had, so in my mind,
it doesn't matter. Like a few thousand isn't
better.
going to make or break your business, like your life. Like you can't.
$0?
Let's say you start with $1,000. I still believe you're self-made. Even 10,000, even 20,000, because you're not truly like even 6 figures or 7 figures.
I'm broke and I live at mom's house with $0. You're in a way better position than me.
You can mow lawns for a few months and make like a few $1,000s. Like there's ways.
You know how many lawns I'm gonna have to mow?
It's a lot of lawns, but that is self-made.
Feisty. Let's unpack this a little, go back and forth here. I agree with, I can see both their sides, right? So her argument is that she believes that you really have to start with 0 pretty much homeless to be self-made, excuse me. And his argument is, hey, just because I got a little bit of help or whatever the case may be doesn't mean necessarily that I'm not self-made. I don't know his story, so we'll have to get in a little bit deeper and kind of see where he's coming from. But if you started with zero and you mowed lawns, like that would, you know, I don't understand why they're going back and forth. I think he's maybe a little bit offended just from the surface, seeing it from the surface, because he's probably had a little bit of help in getting where he is. His parents probably have a few dollars, maybe give him a small loan or something along those lines. But I don't know yet. Well, let's see what happens. Seems like a petty argument, to be honest.
I know what it feels like to be poor. 3, 2, 1, go.
This is a great one.
There's a
This is
difference
awesome.
between being poor and being broke. I've been broke before, like me and my husband have been broke many times in like our relationship, but we've never been poor. And even like a long time ago when I lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with my family, we were never poor. I mean, I was happy, like I had pudding, we went to like parks and stuff. I never felt poor.
When I was 7 years old, I got kicked out and moved into my grandparents' garage, and so I was poor mentally and I was broke financially, and I had to take care of myself at a very young age. So for a decade, I was running a pool company in order to eventually gain the opportunities to ultimately move that ball down the court, obviously. So
I love this guy. You know, I can relate. I was 17 years old. My mom moved away into a different state, and I had nothing. I was homeless, essentially. And I got a crazy story, but started negative, definitely negative. Didn't start from zero. I started from negative. And, you know, I think that there's a fire that burns in people who have been poor, right? It's a different outlook on life that you have whenever you've been poor. And so when you have a drive to want to get money, you never really want to go back to that place. But at the same token, you realize that no matter how poor you are, it really doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're still breathing. You know, you don't want to go back there, but you can take the risks in order that if you do have to go back there, if one of your risks don't pan out, you know what it's like, and you know you can get out of there again. So I liked her perspective, because it is perspective. She was obviously very poor, a 1-bedroom apartment. You know, it's not as poor as homeless people or people in Africa who are battling for water. Like, that's the poorest of the poor. And her mentality is, I like to see positive outlook in everything that I do, and I don't want to look at anything negatively. And I think that your perspective is your reality, and that's her reality.
So.
But were you happy?
I mean, I wasn't, not really, right? Because there was a lot of stuff going on, and like I'm living in a garage and I'm growing up, and I had to not only become rich financially, but also mentally.
I know what it's like to have everything and lose it all. So for me, my parents split when I was young. My family was broken. My mom had to then support 2 children. My dad had some nasty habits with gambling and lost everything. So he had a lot of debts that my mom ended up having to be chased for. And basically, I was 12 years old when I got my first job going door-to-door sales, selling newspaper subscriptions, and I had to bust my ass off to help my mom. So for me,
how does one bust their ass off? I don't think that that's a thing. She gave it a good college try though, but you can tell it's not. She doesn't feel comfortable saying swear words. She should just stick to what she knows. She's a good girl.
from somewhere, and we go through certain motions because it builds character.
I like that. I'm jealous of you guys. I wish I had that mindset. Like, I travel to third world countries to kind of see what it's like, but I still can't put myself like totally in that spot.
I feel like, again, broke and poor are 2 different things. Like, I grew up in a 2-parent home. I, went to prom in a Bentley. Like, I grew up really, really great. But then I hit 20 and...
Whoa. She went to prom in a Bentley. I don't even... That's crazy.
I moved out with some boy, and the situation got very, very domestic violence-y. Now, I was living in a penthouse, and
It got domestic violence-y. How does something become domestic violence? Oh, that's great. That is awesome.
I'm sorry, I got too much pride. I wasn't gonna go back home. And you know, I'm like black and blue, like getting locked in like closets, like really, really toxic stuff. So that for me was very, very poor. Now, did it slingshot me to 6-figure a month income? Yes. But in that state of mind and in that environment, I felt like I was really poor. Like I looked beat up and my direct deposit was not gonna fix a black eye, you know, like.
I should pay more in taxes.
So her whole vibe is kind of turning me off. I'm not gonna lie to you. I feel like this fake vibe coming from her, to be honest. I feel like she's making it sound way worse than it really is. And I'm not trying to downplay what she may or may not have went through, but my BS meter is going off with her. And I kind of feel like she just kind of sticks out with these other group of young people here.
Go.
What was the question? I don't even know the question here. I don't even know the question.
I feel like, you know, you make more money,
Should I
you
pay more in
obviously do
taxes?
have to pay somewhat more, but I don't feel like we deserve extra things to pay just because we have more money. Like we shouldn't be looked to as like a fund, you know, from the government or someone else who just feels like, oh, you have more money, you should pay more in taxes.
I just feel like there should be a little bit more freedom with it because it's really, really stressful. And I feel like a lot of businesses fail in the first 3 years because of taxes, not because they're bad at business, not because they're bad at managing money, but because they're not prepared to do everything by the book.
I mean, I just don't appreciate it when big companies who sell a lot of their services like in the US and then they have some like Ireland tax status where they're getting out of it, like Apple and Amazon and these big companies that theoretically should pay billions in taxes while it's us average people who are really supporting the government. I think there should be a little less inequality there.
Amazon paid $0 in taxes.
Did you see Bezos is donating to Australia for the wildfires? He donated $690,000.
All these
He
are just
makes
great
an average
points.
of 200.
So like what they're obviously they're entrepreneurs, and so traditionally entrepreneurs, especially young entrepreneurs, people who are still growing their wealth, and obviously they're still working on growing their wealth. At some point in the next probably 15 to 20 years, they'll have decided that they don't want to continue to work as hard, or they at some point in that area, and so they'll be in a different stage in life. But right now they're in a wealth building stage, right? They want to get to a point where their money works for them completely, and so they don't have to work anymore if they don't want to. And that's what we all work for, is to put ourselves in a position, live below our means, where we have enough money put aside that we can live with freedom and flexibility, and we don't have to be concerned about, are we going to be able to pay our bills? By the time we're in our 50s, late 40s, ideally, we're in a situation where we don't have much debt. And if we do have debt, it's very good debt. But ideally, you have a high net worth, which means that your assets outweigh your liabilities. So if your mortgage is $500,000, but your house is worth $1 million, then you have an asset that is net $500,000. And so just a general idea, but to talk about taxes, in general, people who are entrepreneurs don't believe in high taxes because they believe that their money is better spent in their pockets and reinvesting because they're in the wealth building stage. You know, older people are more willing to pay taxes, it seems like, because they're in a position where the money works for them anyways, and they're already set. And so these guys are like, no, I don't want to pay taxes. But most entrepreneurs, old or young, they don't want to pay more taxes. The people who want others to pay more taxes are the ones who have a 9-to-5. Now, people who have a regular job pay more money in taxes than entrepreneurs do already. And that's because the tax code works for people who have businesses. And this is another story for another day. But basically, if you own a business, you're going to pay taxes. You're going to pay less money in taxes per dollar, if you will. A percentage that's less in per taxes of your income than someone who works a job. Because if you work a job, you get a W-2, your money comes out on the front. If I have a business, when I make money, I can claim business expenses. I can go when I go to eat dinner with a friend who's a business colleague. I can use that as a business write-off. There's all kind of different things that you can do. Your fuel, when you're on your way to a job site or to an office, your fuel is a write-off. So there's just tons of things that you can write off as a business owner that you just can't do as an employee. If you get a check for $1,000 and you need to get to work, well, guess what? When you buy gas, you can't write off your fuel at that point unless you're a 1099 or a sole proprietor. That's another story for another day. But taxes, I agree with them 100%. I don't want to pay more taxes. The lower the tax bill, the better. And I think also the lower the tax bill, the more likely people are to pay the right amount of taxes. And luckily, I have an accounting firm here in Central Florida, and we take care of our clients, and we try to help them save as much money as possible. So I'm very familiar with the tax codes here in our state.
$100 million per day.
Yeah.
We put out a whole press release, and I'm just like, come on, dude, like, give a little more.
To be fair, they have created a lot of jobs for people. I actually sell on Amazon, so through Amazon FBA, he's provided an opportunity for people like me to make a living for myself, to be able to start a business, online, and to be able to make internet money. So like to have that freedom, and like whether we think that he needs to give more or not, I mean, that's really up to him what he does with his money.
I spent an absurd amount of money on something because I can. 3, 2, 1, go.
My husband just got a Lamborghini and he had a Mercedes. It was like a 90 grand car and he added like a 200 grand car. And I'm like, why'd you do that? Like you don't need to do that. He's like, well, I mean, I could, so why not? Like I want to, it's fun. I'm like, you can't even drive it to the grocery store. Like you can't use this car for anything.
I mean, I grew up wanting cars. Like my whole bedroom was like plastered with cars on the wall. And then when I could actually buy it, it was like
it's so fun, right?
Well, it was fulfilling a childhood dream. It wasn't even about the car, it was the challenge.
Yeah.
Then once I had all the cars, the thrill is gone, so I didn't need it. So I think that you should all have like dreams and chase those dreams, whatever they are.
I agree with that so much, and I can relate to that in so many different ways. Originally, when I started in my road to business and making money, right? It was my journey. It was really about, kind of buying things, and I never had this and I never had that growing up, and everybody else had jet skis and boats and side-by-sides, four-wheelers back then. They weren't side-by-sides, and just different things, and I had all of it. I went and bought jet skis, and I went and bought side-by-side and four-wheelers, and I had every, all the stuff, everything you could think of. I had every, I had it all. And then I realized quickly that this stuff is just literally adding more stress to my life. That money could be spent investing and gaining assets. And I realized that you can't use it all. I had jet skis for like 2 years, and I had 13 hours on them. They're brand new jet skis. And I had a truck to tow them. I live in Florida. There's lakes everywhere. But what I realized was that, my kids were still young. They weren't able to ride them yet. I was really focused on more family activities at the time, and they just weren't that fun. I mean, jet skis are fun, but they're not like every weekend fun. They get old, and it's just the same way with side-by-sides and four-wheelers. Like I'm better off like going to the basketball court and playing ball. Like that brings more enjoyment to me. Or, even sometimes jumping on the Xbox and playing FIFA or playing golf. Like those things are a lot less expensive, and to me, I enjoy them more. I like to smoke cigars. So I've realized now in my early 30s that all those things that you buy and you think that that's going to patch the pain or kind of solve the problem in your brain that you've always wanted, you realize quickly that the money doesn't really matter in regards to, or the things don't really matter. And so you'd rather keep the money in your pocket. And that's just being smart. Like if I buy something now, it's almost certainly some type of asset. Like, for example, I have luxury watches. I like watches, but they're assets. I buy them at retail price, and they're worth more when I buy them they're worth more used than when I bought them new. And that's a good purchase. If I buy something for $10,000 and it's worth $15,000 after I buy it, well, that it's a good purchase, right? Like, so That's called an appreciating asset. And by the way, when you buy an asset like a watch or a luxury watch or whatnot, these are desirable items. And even when inflation, the value of the item goes up with inflation. And so even in our world in today's day and age, inflation is important. You need to keep an eye on it. But if you have assets, your assets move up with inflation. High-end watches, real estate, there's a couple other things, but there's an entire strategy on watch trading and luxury watch world that I really, really enjoy. Maybe I'll make a video about that another time. Go in the comments, and if you guys want a video about luxury watches and how to collect them and what you should do in order to build a relationship with an authorized dealer in order to get these things for retail price and not pay over retail, I'll make a video like that. But you just hit me in the comments and see if you're interested.
Maybe they don't cost that much.
But I mean, not everything's materialistic. Like when I started making money, I changed my body.
Yeah,
I went and
that's
upgraded
what
my
everyone
chest.
does.
I went and cleared my skin.
Yeah.
I went and got a tattoo.
Yeah.
I went and got my, you know what I mean? Like, go and get hair extensions. Like,
I've definitely purchased things in the past that were cool, and it was because I could. But as time's gone along for me, I've realized so many times that every time I hit the goal or the destination or the target, I realized that the journey was so much more fun. And as I've achieved more success and built more companies, it's almost every time now where I get there and I'm like, man, the journey was actually funner than the destination.
Yeah,
I'm kind of
so
over
cool.
here with you.
Yeah,
that guy's the real deal,
yeah,
man.
because like I
like
used
that
to buy
guy.
a lot of bags. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, and then once I got there, it was kind of like, I don't have a man, I don't have kids. What am I doing?
But the question wasn't like, what do you think about what's important now? It's like, have you done it in the past? You can't change your past. If you do, are we doing that, changing the future? Like, what do you think about material possessions now? Like, I'll change. I don't need them. But in the past, I've had them. So I've fulfilled my childhood dreams. Now I'm good.
I'm with him 100%. Like, you can't, the question was very simple. I mean, have you wasted money on things that you go, that's a dumb amount of money? And she clearly said she did. And then she said, oh, I'm just going to come down here. Well, that really wasn't the question. The question, have you spent money on things? Like, just answer the question.
Inequality is one of humanity's biggest problems. 3, 2, 1, go.
If we're talking about getting like successful, inequality is definitely not a problem. Like a homeless person has rose to fame overnight. I mean, if we're talking about inequality like with like the country, yeah, like, you know, that exists. But to become successful, inequality is not a problem. You know, anyone can make it.
I guess the issue with inequality is that the rich are getting richer and the poor are not having access to those means.
Well, no, because I feel like my husband, he grew up in like the ghetto of LA. Like he had nothing. He worked as a dishwasher technician, and now he drives a gold Lamborghini and he had a gold Mercedes and he can buy whatever the hell he wants. You don't need to be like a white guy to make money, you know, like you don't need to grow up in a rich area to make money. There's opportunities everywhere. Anyone can do it if they want to.
But
I think when you look at the statistics though, I think it's definitely doable. Like anybody can do it. But we still are in a day and an age where it's still not that common in the grand scheme of things. Like there's still a lot of people that, like you said, the rich get richer and the poor are either staying the same or not really getting that ahead right now.
I feel like there's still just a lot of inequality. I mean, like we're all minorities and you guys are all white. And then like growing up, if you put me in a 4th grade classroom and I say, show me a millionaire, you say Apple, Amazon, Timothy Sykes, he's rich. And then you're like, okay, show me somebody black, show me somebody Asian, show me somebody Spanish. You're gonna be like,
it's very
Michael
limited,
Jordan.
right? It's extremely limited.
They don't know.
We need more examples.
Here's my take on this. This is a sensitive subject. You're not gonna have. It depends on what you call what inequality means to you. Like equality of outcome is impossible. Like it's impossible. If you want equality of the starting point, like the beginning phase, it's very difficult to do, especially because no matter where you are in life, no one starts in the same spot. Like for example, how do I say this? I'm a big guy, right? If I eat a Twinkie, it's going straight to my gut, right? But my wife, for example, she can eat 10 Twinkies and she wouldn't gain a pound. How is that equal? We can't, there's nothing we can do about that. But I'm not complaining about it. I just need to do better. And so, like in America, you know, it's there's this mentality of if you start as black, then you're disadvantaged than someone who started off as white, right? Because white people have more opportunity. And I would say in some ways I can agree with that. In some ways I disagree. Because there's a lot of rich black folks right now. If you look in sports, every football team's got mostly black. Every basketball team is mostly black. So should we have 50-50 split, or should we make it look like America? Because technically there's only 13% of America is black. And so should we go, no, we only need 13% of football players to be black. The rest 60% need to be white. And then there need to be some Asians in there as well. Like, it doesn't make sense. So trying to create this equality, it's very lopsided in my opinion. It's okay for this person. Like, for example, when we look at the NBA, and you have a white basketball coach, and the white basketball coach is in the finals. Like right now, we have the Eastern Conference and Western Conference finals, and there was a big deal was made that, hey, look, we have 4 black coaches that are in the NBA that's gotten to this point, right? Which was, I think, there was 8 playoff teams at the time, and they said, oh, we got 4 black coaches, half of them are black. Like, they're like basically not talking about anybody else, whether it be an Asian coach or a white coach or whatever. I don't know all the coaches, but it's like you're pointing out the fact that there are black coaches that are successful. To me, that's crazy, because you're basically stating that, hey, that it's abnormal for black people to be successful. And in my opinion, I just disagree with that. I think perspective is reality. If you want to be successful, you can, no matter what color you are. I grew up in an environment that was dominated by mostly black people, black and Hispanics. Growing up, especially in my adolescence and my teen years, it was mostly black folks that I was hanging around, and Hispanics, and I'm still friends with some of them today. And so I understand. I'm not black, but I was raised by a black man, and so my mom was married to one. My little brother and sister are half black, and he was a great guy. But he never made an excuse for his color about where he was in his life. He never said, oh, I'm here because I'm black. Never once did it come out of his mouth, and I appreciated him for that. He just did what he had to do, and no one treated him any different than they would treat me or someone else.
More examples.
My privilege has allowed me to become rich. 3, 2, 1, go.
I think the internet democratizes everything. I mean, I learned everything about stock trading on the internet, and many of us take advantage or capitalize on things that are in the market, and the internet allows us to become experts.
Would you say the internet's a privilege, though?
No. I mean, you want to get into semantics, like it's a privilege to be alive during this time in history where we have the internet.
Just in a sense, if you're broke, you may not have it, so you have to walk.
You can get free Wi-Fi.
You have to walk
you
to
can
Starbucks.
beg on the street, and you can get.
But I have to walk there. It's not a privilege.
You could be paralyzed, and you could push yourself. There's a way to get on the internet. Almost every single person can get on the internet. The internet, I think, allows you to achieve anything, and it doesn't matter if you're in the U.S., if you're a man or a woman.
Well, I feel like that's for internet businesses. Like for me, it's more like beauty. Like for example, if I didn't kind of look good, I'm not trying to be conceited, no one would need to help them look better. Like for example, you're in stocks, that's not really privilege. You learned how to do that. My privilege has allowed me to make money just in that case, just because it's like a beauty industry. That's it.
So you can create privilege then too, right? Once you gain some momentum in life, it becomes easier in a sense, right? It becomes you look at the exponential growth of success typically, and once you kind of create privilege a little bit, from what I've found at least, it does become a little bit easier. Once you're there though, I mean, it could take 10 years to get there, but eventually you create the privilege. Doesn't mean you had to start out privileged.
For sure, and sometimes it's generational. Like if I was in my mom's shoes and I was actually born in Vietnam and and she didn't take that chance with her family to leave literally everything behind and come over to Canada, I may not be where I am today because she didn't, make that decision to bring our family over. Maybe I would have had to be the one to make that decision for my family, and then it's the next generation that basically built off of that. So it really is situational.
So as far as privilege is concerned, we're all privileged. The guy in the back, I think his name was Timothy, said, we're just privileged to be alive at this time in humanity, to have the opportunities that we have. We're privileged to even be a human. We could be a dog or a flower or whatever, however you believe, you're privileged to even have to be able to walk. Like she said, she had to walk there, and she acted like, oh, that's not a privilege. It is a privilege. It's a privilege to be able to walk. You are privileged to have 2 legs that function. You're privileged to have a brain that works. Like, you're privileged to be breathing right now. And so the reality is that what do you call privilege? In my opinion, every single person that's walking this earth in some way, shape, or form is privileged. And even if you don't walk, if you have no legs, you're still breathing. And so in that way, you're privileged.
People judge me because I'm rich. 3, 2, 1, go.
We live in a world where social media is extremely prevalent. So like being on YouTube or Instagram or social media, a lot of it's like perceived. You know, you are constantly getting like quote unquote judged. In my
But
opinion.
even on social media, it really just depends what you post. That's very much
I have a
a
stupid
controlled
$30,000
environment.
watch just for social media. Like, I don't even, if you ask me what time it is, I check my iPhone. I don't even know if this thing works. But like, when you're trying to grow your business, especially for me, like in stock trading, why do you get into stock trading? Is it fun? No, it sucks, but you can make money. So for social media, you kind of have to show it.
But even with social media, I mean, if you have 1 million subscribers on YouTube, I think you're rich.
Yeah.
Because I know YouTube is writing you a check, and I'm judging you off
Direct
that.
deposit.
But that's my point. Like, you don't have to post a flashy watch. You don't have to post a nice car anymore. Like, if I see, you know, a large amount of subscribers on a monetized platform, I know you're getting direct deposit. I know something's keeping your lights on. Now, I'm not judging you in a bad way. Of course, you know, I work every day to try to make videos too. But in the same sense, like, we judge people that ask us for money.
I don't even like what is these are very general questions. So like the responses are very general. Like, do we get judged? Everyone gets judged for everything. Like, unless you're just an average person walking down the street, and even then you're probably going to be judged for the clothes you're wearing. Like, or hey, you got a bald head, I'm judging you. That's not really, I don't think that's really the question. Is it the question? I think it's feel like, are people judging you in a negative connotation? That's what I take from it. And I think I Graham Stephan, I've consumed a lot of his content. Very smart guy, very intelligent, very humble guy. And I think his persona kind of makes it to where he's very, very careful about what he says and does. And I also think that his following, or his followers, his subscribers, the people that consume his content, are people who are more less on the hater side, right? They're not really haters. They're people who are like, hey man, I appreciate the success that you have, and I want to try to emulate that. So how do I do that? That's why people consume people like Graham Stephan's content, or Meet Kevin, or people like them, because they want to know how they can too be successful. And so as far as Graham's concerned, that's probably why he feels like he's not being judged. I can tell you personally, especially in my family, that I get this really, really nasty. I get judged, you know, and it's unfortunate. It's really unfortunate, because you try so hard to not give off this arrogant. You know, you can't even really have a conversation about your life with certain people, because if you do, it's going to come off as, hey, you're talking about things that I never could even consider, and so you're trying to brag. It's like, well, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks to take my family somewhere. Oh, well, why are you bragging? It's like, no, not really bragging. I'm just mentioning that this is what I'm doing. And if you think that it's bragging, then that's really on you. Or, hey, I just bought this watch. I really enjoy it. Check it out. This is me trying to share things that I enjoy with you, and instead somebody might look at it as, hey, you're trying to brag at what you have. And I've had this come across a few times, not just family, but other people as well. And unfortunately, I've had to cut them out of my life, because if I can't even have a conversation with you and you think that I'm bragging, we're on just 2 different platforms and 2 different levels in life, whether that be higher or lower or however you want to call it. But we're not on the same wavelength.
Money to buy happiness. 3, 2, 1.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
It's kind of like that poor broke mentality all over again. Like if you're rich and you're like in a domestic violence relationship, like you're not happy even though you might have money, but still money can buy fun things. And looking back, like you're proud of your accomplishments, you're proud of the journey that you took to get to where you are, and in a way it can buy happiness.
Money allows you to buy freedom, and then freedom gets you the ability to have more time to find what makes you happy. It's not a direct result.
But it could be, like, let's say your mom or your dad or somebody that had a severe illness, you know, was in the hospital and they had X amount of time to live. Now this person makes you extremely happy, and it's going to cost $1 million or $2 million for this surgery that they need to survive, and you save them. Like, you quite literally just bought happiness. Now that's not to say that it buys happiness in every area of life. Like,
but it can.
But in certain areas, like, yeah, money definitely can buy happiness.
My most fulfilling asset is the house that I bought my parents.
Exactly.
I agree with Timothy 100%. He's saying the flexibility and the freedom that you have with money enables you to go find what makes you happy. And ultimately, it buys you happiness, which is buying you freedom and flexibility. And I 100% agree with that. But if you think that money is going to buy you things that are going to make you happy, that's not going to happen. Freedom and flexibility, we talked about at the very beginning of the video. That's the key. That's what money gives you. That's the most important part of what money allows you to have. Freedom and flexibility. Doing what you want to do when you want to do it.
So grateful to be able to do that.
You were serving another person.
100%.
Exactly.
Right. It's like pouring from an empty cup. You need to make sure that you fill your cup before you help other people. And I think it goes back to donating, or people expect you to give more because you have more, but really it's not selfish for you to want a lot of money or to want that time freedom. And it really just depends on your definition of happiness, what makes you happy. And we all find that, I guess, reason at different points in our life. Some people figure it out really early on, and some people it takes them a lifetime to find out what makes them happy. So even though you could have a lot of money, if you don't know what that reason is that drives you to do the things that you do, then really you're just not going to be happy whether you have money or not.
Melissa's talking about a why. Every person should have a why. Why do you do this and why do you do that? Why do you get up every day? What's the purpose of you going to your job? Is there an end goal? Like, if you just go to your job to pay your electric bill and to pay your car note, that's a very sad way to live. If you just go to your job and you're making enough money to go out to the club on the weekends, and then you're broke again on Monday, and you're just hoping and praying you got enough gas to get paid till you get paid on Friday, that's a very sad way to live. And so you need to find your why. What makes you go every day? What makes you tick? And what she's saying is that that changes, right, at different parts of our lives, I think. When you have children and a family, it changes dramatically. When you're a single person, you know, your why is different for that time as well. You may have a big why, and you may have smaller whys within that. But the reality is that you should always have a target. You should always have a why as to why you are doing something, or why you're getting up every day, and why you're putting in that extra work. It keeps you driven, and it helps you focus on a goal, and it keeps you pointing in the right direction, and it makes you less scatterbrained. And so you can get more organized and really, really pinpoint what's your purpose, and it helps you be more efficient in what you're trying to accomplish. So that was that, walking left and right. That was kind of cool. I enjoyed that. Hopefully maybe we can do some more of those. If you guys liked the video, please like and subscribe. I do this for you guys. I just take time out of my day to hopefully educate in some ways. And when I was 18, 17, 18, 19, even 25, I wish I knew what I know now. I wish I had someone that told me the things that I know that I've had to learn the hard way. And I think that learning from people like some of these people, and learning from people like myself, I think can help. And I hope it does help. And that's the whole purpose of this channel, is to kind of show what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, show you my mistakes, show you how we kind of moving. And like I said, hopefully you liked the video. Hopefully we earned your subscription today. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks again.